Today, we are going to discuss how someone can become a good programmer. This video is especially made for beginners. Hi, I am Dr. Shahriar Hussain. Today, I am going to bring in 13 tips that will help you become a good programmer. Becoming skilled at anything requires determination and perseverance. Gaining expertise in programming is no different. I teach around 100 students every year at the University of Texas at El Paso. I generally teach data science, programming languages, and algorithms courses. Based on what I have seen over the past years as a faculty member and a researcher is those who work hard and use an organized way of learning become skilled quickly. The tips I am going to share today regarding how one can become a good programmer are for all who are planning to or have already started to self-learn a programming language. Additionally, the tips are for those who have enrolled in a formal programming course lately. The first tip is make sure that you know which programming language you should learn first. While Python is a popular choice, Java might be a better option if time and schedule of the learner permit. Learning Java programming language would result in mastering some theoretical concepts that would help the learner self-study any programming language later. In an article, we explained how someone could choose what programming language to learn first based on several different aspects. Tip number 2. Build a resource collection. When you plan to study anything, you need to make sure that you have enough resources that will help you learn. Most of the time, the primary resource is a book. In learning to code, there are other resources as well, like YouTube and free online courses. Reading a programming book is not exactly like reading a traditional book. When you are reading a programming book, you will need to practice every example immediately. Write the examples provided in the book on a computer. Compile the codes and run the programs to understand the concepts clearly. The other great resource nowadays is YouTube. YouTube is a great resource where you will find lectures given by many experts. After reading a chapter from the book and practicing the topic, one can watch some YouTube videos on the topic. It is like preparing before a lecture at school. A student learns better if she or he goes over the subject before the lecture. There are many free courses over the internet. You might search for YouTube channels that focus on programming languages of your interest. Some websites may even run free online classes. With the free courses, you will generally watch video lectures, get some study materials, and also there can be some exercise problems. I should mention that we are currently running a free Java course where there are video lectures, articles to support the videos. Many of the posts have exercise questions so that you can practice. If you are a beginner and if you are planning to learn Java, you can check out our free Java programming course. Tip number 3. Study slow but get back to programming every day. This tip is about studying slow but getting back to the materials every day. Programming is a skill that one should master slowly. The fact is, no one can learn to program overnight. Learning a programming language can be fast when you already know another programming language. As a beginner, one should take learning to program more like a habit than rushing to become a master. Trying to rush will only create frustration at beginner's end. A few tips regarding learning the first programming language is coming up. Put aside some hours of each day for study and practice. Span your learning of the first programming language over several months. I believe learning the first programming language well can take anywhere between 3 months to 6 months, depending on the amount of time one can afford. Trying to write code first does not help in gaining programming skills. Although programming might seem fast typing based on how movies would put them, the reality is that a great programmer can be an overly slow typist. I should disclose at this point that I type slow, and look at me, I teach programming courses. Tip number 4, bring a structure to your study. Bring some organization to your study if you plan to learn to program all by yourself. Make sure that you have a daily schedule. Creating a schedule is half the work done. Of course, on some days you might give more time than other days depending on how your weekly schedule looks like. Use a journal to take notes on the items you learned. Going over the journal time to time helps review the materials later. Organize your digital materials in a folder. For example, put the PDF books in one folder, keep your codes in another directory, name the folders in such a way that you can find them easily. The sequence of topics is important in learning a programming language. For example, learning data types and variables first is important. Going for loops after learning if-else instructions would be a natural sequence. Make sure that you study the topics of the programming language you are learning in a sequence that a book would list them. Tip number 5. Solve middle school and high school math problems. One way to improve your programming skills in the beginning is to write programs to solve some middle and high school math problems. Examples are add all the integers between 1 to 20, compute the factorial of 10, or calculate the greatest common factor of 12 and 18. Not that you will need to use middle or high school math to solve real-world problems when you are a professional programmer. Solving math problems will help you develop programming skills in general. Tip number 6, test yourself. One tip to improve is to test yourself. There are several ways one can self-challenge when self-learning. You can solve problems from the book. As you know, there are generally questions at the end of every chapter in any textbook. A programming book is no different. Writing codes for some of the programming problems that are provided at the end of a chapter would help improve the skills. Additionally, you can find programming problems from the internet. If you search on Google with the keyword programming problems, you will get an abundant number of problems. Not all programming problems are suitable for a learner's level. The learner needs to figure out which problem is ideal for her or his level of expertise. Many professors who teach programming languages keep assignments and exam questions on their websites. You can search for such websites and download the assignment descriptions for practice. There are some resources online where a programmer can write code to solve problems. Submit the code and the code will be checked automatically for correctness. Such an online system is a great way to master problem solving using programming. One such site is HackerRank. I would recommend this site for those who have become familiar with at least one computer programming language. Tip number 7. Learn problem solving, not syntax. Studying a programming language does not necessarily mean just reading books and memorizing syntax. You will have to learn to program by writing programs. Also, learning one programming language might not be enough because the most popular computer language this year might become obsolete within a few years. A good programmer masters the art of problem solving using a computer language. Even if she or he switches to another language in a few years, the problem solving part remains as familiar as before. When you are learning a programming language, focus more on the problem solving aspect rather than trying to memorize the syntax. The syntax from one language to another may vary, but the logic of solving a problem does not change. Tip number 8. Do not stop right when the code works. Think about critical inputs. A common mistake that I observe among many beginners is they assume their program is complete when they see that it works for a particular user input. A program someone has written hurriedly may have many bugs. Bugs generally appear in a program from unconsidered scenarios. Careless coding may result in as simple bugs as a division error. That is, the programmer checks that the program is dividing one number by another, such as 5 divided by 2, correctly. Now, the user enters other numbers for a division, such as 10 divided by 0. A 0 in the denominator will result in an error and the program will crash. For large software projects, mistakes can be as big as opening a backdoor, making the system vulnerable to attacks. However, if you are a beginner, you probably do not have to worry much about opening a backdoor for attackers. You will still need to analyze your code for different inputs critically to make sure that the program responds well for all ranges of data. Tip number 9. Write solutions to the same problem multiple times. Writing the solution to the same problem twice or thrice is a good practice as a beginner. The target is not to memorize the code. It is instead honing the problem-solving skills. Let's say you write a program in half an hour today. Try to write the code to solve the same problem tomorrow. You might need lesser time to write the program on the second day. Moreover, you will have a deeper understanding of the problem. Who knows, you might even discover that you had missed a bug or two on the first day. Tip number 10. Work on projects that you own. One way to master a programming language after learning the basics is to work on a project. Come up with programming projects relevant to your life. Some example projects can be software to keep track of your expenditure, a program to track calories consumed in a week, and scheduling software. One can keep improving a programming project over time and keep learning. Once the confidence grows, one can seek freelance work as a professional developer. An example of a website where one can bid for freelance jobs is freelancer.com. Tip number 11. Learn more advanced theories after you learn your first programming language. After gaining expertise in a programming language, an ideal thing to do would be to study data structures and algorithms. Data structures would help you store data in the main memory of a computer efficiently. Retrieval of information from the main memory is also an issue for programs that deal with a massive amount of data. Data structure is the study where one can learn how to store and retrieve data efficiently to solve a problem. An algorithm is a set of instructions to solve a problem. A course on algorithms will contain different families of widely used algorithms, which one can leverage to solve practical problems. If you consider a programming language a tool, then data structures and algorithms are the techniques that you use to solve a problem. You can change the tool, that is, the programming language, but the techniques will remain the same. I say that the study of algorithms is more like studying tricks that you will implement using a programming language. Tip number 12. Read codes written by others. Reading codes written by others is beneficial in improving programming skills. You will be surprised to find how different people would write a program to solve the same problem in different ways. When you read codes written by others, you are practically reading the logical sequence that another person created to solve a problem. Being able to understand the logical sequence helps develop a programming skill. Tip number 13. Join forums and ask questions. When someone is learning a programming language, whether self-taught or in a course, it is necessary to ask questions. If you are self-learning, join Facebook groups that help beginners. Do not hesitate to ask any questions. Before you ask the question to a forum or a group, please make sure to check if there is any direct answer already available on Google. However, if you have any question, you can, without any hesitation, ask the question here below in the comments section. If you have not yet subscribed to our website companyforall.com and to this YouTube channel where this video is hosted, please do so. I wish you all the success. Thank you. See you soon in another video.